one last video. What I'm going to do is I want to do some rusting, vinyl rusting with pigments. These are some of the pigments I'm going to be using. Okay, mainly to get any sheen off the areas of, say, the turret right here. I've already started applying some, and also to give it a drier look. And we'll do a little bit over here on the hull. What I'm going to do is just take some cargo dust, some track brown, and I'm just going to get a little bit on the brush. Not a lot, just a little bit. Just like I said, just to touch it up, give it a drier look, especially after doing that weathering. You don't want to do too much. Right now I'm using the cargo dust, which works great for old rust, very old corroded rust. Does tend to be a purplish color. I'll do the other side. You don't have to do too much on this side since we don't have that much exposed. Like I said earlier, I try to save the pigments for the very end, and I use it sparingly. As you can see from the previous videos, the oils, the rust effects, they all work great for replicating rust. Alright, I'm going to take a smaller brush, same thing. I'm just going to apply some on the streaks, very subtle, not a lot, just a little tiny bit, barely even noticeable. Just a little bit here and there, just to give the rust a little variation, a little more than from the rust layering. Some different hues here and there. Okay. Now I'm going to use the track brown. I'm going to go right on the fender. Take some off. And use it like dry brushing on the edges. You can add different colors. You just don't want to go too light. Right now I'm taking old rust. Just going to apply some right in there, a little bit there. And you can take that cosmetic brush, wipe off excess, do some blending, and add some to the top there. You can do some good streaking with the pigments. You just got to remember not to handle the model very much afterwards. You don't want to risk removing any of the pigments or leaving fingerprints. Right here in this area I'm going to go with that same rust, the old rust. And I'm going to take some track brown and go right down the center. And you can take some brighter color. In this case I'm going to use some rail rust. Just a tiny bit. go on the outside edges. And then we'll get a brighter color. Right now I'm using the standard rust. A very, very bright color. So don't use too much of that. And go and hit other areas if you'd like. Okay, switching back to the other colors. Right now the track brown. Hit those high spots right there. Don't want to get too carried away with it. With pigments, just have to remember a little bit goes a very long way. Just want to do a little bit here and there. Remembering to use the darker for more older corroded rust. You can use, like I said, the bright rust for some streaking. Just use a very, very small fine paintbrush. Mix the colors up a little bit. You can get some very realistic rust effects when you mix different products. Main thing is to know when to use what. It all depends on what kind of effects you're trying to create. It's all in experimenting, see what works best. With the pigments, if you don't like it, you can always remove it and start again. So now I've got some Russian earth, and we can use that for type of streaking, or where a lot of the grime has settled. Along with the dust. You can also use it for streaking. And a fine brush, a finer tip would work better. You can apply some streaks. Nice stiff brush works best. Or you can use a larger stiff brush. The Russian earth is a dark color, like a grayish black. Lends itself well to this type of weathering and streaking. And take some more of that Russian earth, apply it on top. Also use it, like I said, as a dry brush. You can use some of the grimy black, but with this stuff you have to use it very, very sparingly because it is very dark. Do a little bit of streaking there. Break up some of that rust color. That would be the runoff. Water came on here and right down. Again, just a little bit, keeping it very subtle. The combination of various techniques that'll bring a model to life. And the layering of different products, different effects. Hitting this with the track brown. Well, I think that's about it. There isn't very much more to do. You can basically call this done. Do up a small base for this. And that'll be it. And move on to the next one. Do some more experimenting. On the upper hull, well, upper lower hull, I had already applied the second going over with the silver pencil for the weld beads. That's already done. Well, like I said, you can basically call it quits on this one. That's about it. Don't have to go too nuts with pigments. A little bit goes a long way. Close all these up. And we can hit some areas. Remove some of that. Do some blending, streaking.